Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. I am Mike B, and today we're going to be talking about another thing that I keep seeing popping up in the comments a lot lately, and I'm just going to discuss it a little bit, and we'll see what comes of it. It's basically the sentiment of, like you see on the title, the new military surplus market's going to be restoring sporterized firearms. So this is going to be for mainly younger people or people who just haven't gotten into the hobby until now, when it's not like it used to be. The surplus market has changed for sure. That's not even remotely debatable, and it's probably, there's a really like 99% chance that it's never going to be what it used to be. So when we're talking about the new market or whatever, or where it's going to go, a direction it can go, and what's currently happening, we have to talk about a little bit in the past what happened, and then we'll talk about now. Basically, back in the day when surplus was still relatively affordable, and all that stuff, that jazz that I talked about and harped on in previous videos, the good old days, it used to be really cost prohibitive to restore a sporterized military surplus rifle back into original configuration. Now, it wasn't going to be an original configuration with all of its matching parts and all that stuff, but it was still like, well, so if I buy this Enfield, which I personally did, I bought a Savage marked number 4 Mark 1 for I think 80 bucks. And it had, the stock was chopped, all the metal was okay, but it was missing a bunch of the metal and whatever. So anyway, bought it for 80 bucks. I ended up putting probably about $500 on top of that initial $80 into the rifle, and it was only worth about $400 at the time. So definitely very cost prohibitive if you're looking at that. It really, and today it's not, it's actually no different. It's just the same thing. It costs more to source parts now. They're getting harder to find. They're always getting harder to find. And again, just like the guns themselves, their parts have skyrocketed in price. So a part that used to cost 50 cents is now $5. So just take that into consideration as well. Your rifle or pistol or whatever you're putting back in original configuration, like I said, is never going to be an original configuration. So there's going to be that bit of a kind of a disadvantage on the value, the collector's value part of it. But now we're actually going to talk about something that's kind of positive about all this. I know most of my videos have been just me, fucking you up with some truth, but now we're going to actually talk about how this can be a good thing. Even back in the day, I've done it several times. Most of my collector friends have done it several times. It's a labor of love. If you actually love doing it and are more concerned with preserving the history of a firearm and taking it back into original configuration using parts that otherwise would just sit in a warehouse, making a complete product out of parts and stuff because somebody else fucked with it, this is definitely something for you. Also, it's really a positive thing to see younger people, younger collectors recognizing this. And back in the day, the good old days, younger people, including myself, tended to fuck with military surplus firearms. I didn't like sporterize them, but I definitely refinished stocks to increase the value and all that stuff, reblued certain parts before I realized that. I was only for about 6 months when I was 19 years old or 20 years old that I actually did that, and then learned my lesson quick. But anyway, people, my God, that were my age, chopping the barrels down, watching YouTube videos of how to make a sniper rifle out of a Mosin Nagant or a K98, you name it, right? And then that's just younger people from 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Back into the 60s, people were chopping rifles and stuff. Anyway, a really big perk of the hobby that's actually going to be kind of cool to see over the next decade or so, or and beyond, is the fact that younger people are willing, not only just that they're aware, but they're willing to say, yeah, I'll pay $100 or $200 for a K98 or a Gewehr 98 or something like that. A couple of you were talking about buying Gewehr 98s in the past. And you're willing to do that and then spend the exuberant amount and overpaying, like I say you shouldn't, but that's just, there's a labor of love involved, and there's more of a respect that's built, and you get to learn a skill of how to put a firearm together from 100 years ago or whatever. They're actually pretty simple. So I would consider that, and if you're going to be overpaying, but you actually love what you're doing and aren't just doing it strictly looking at the financials, you're not just looking to buy something and restore it and then flip it, I would consider overpaying for that, paying more for the parts and all the effort and the time and all that stuff, because you're going to pay more than what the rifle's actually going to be worth in the meantime. But if you're willing to do that, I'll give you a pass on overpaying for a military surplus firearm if you're putting it back into original configuration and appreciating the history and stuff like that. So again, this video is probably the first one, and it's not really a series, this is just videos that I make of me talking about something positive for the future of military surplus collecting. I think it's really cool because just like there's no shortage of military surplus firearms, despite what people say, oh, it's supply and demand, there's low supply. No, there are more. I believe, like, you can probably fact check me on this, you know, look it up, look it up. But there are, I can almost guarantee you there are more military surplus firearms in the United States than there are people. Guaranteed. I'd be willing to bet a gentleman's bet of an entire $1 on that. So if you want to fact check that, and there's no really way to look that up, but a rough estimate, I guess, just Mosin Nagants, and then, you know, Mauser variants alone, I'm pretty sure would equate up to almost 400,000, or 400 million rifles in the U.S., whether they're chopped or not. Anyway, I gotta digress. So, yeah, I mean, this is a cool thing. There's no shortage of surplus firearms. There's no shortage of sporterized surplus firearms. Now, again, this involves doing your research because it's within the realm of military surplus firearm collecting. Make sure you know if it's restorable. I've made that mistake where the barrel is actually cut down and it's not actually a carbine. Somebody made a fantasy piece and it's not restorable and you're stuck with that, and then you have to sell it for less than what you paid for it, or just hold on to it, let it collect dust, shoot it a couple times, and then sell it and maybe break even. Ask me how I know that. Anyway, I'll stop going off the rails for this video, I promise. I view this as a positive thing, but just don't think that you're going to be getting a deal. It's never been a deal to restore a military surplus firearm back to its original configuration, and it's not probably going to be unless something really, really fucking weird happens with the price of parts and surplus, whatever. But anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. If you like this video and the rest of my content, please consider supporting it financially. Now, what that does is allows me to make content that I wouldn't otherwise be able to make just funding solely out of pocket. I can keep making videos and stuff, but it allows me to get cool pieces like this, which was Patreon funded, and other pieces of historical significance, military surplus firearms, ammo to go out and make shooting videos, helmets for ballistic test videos, body armor and such like that. And it just helps be able to make content that I want to make but otherwise couldn't because I can't afford to shell out that much out of my personal budget. So there's two ways to do that, two great ways: Patreon, and the link to that is in the description, and becoming a YouTube channel member, hitting the join button below this video. $5 a month or more on either support platform gets you access to my Discord server, which is really fun. A lot of cool information is exchanged there. I've learned quite a bit actually on there so far, and it's just a really fun time. If you can't support the channel financially, I totally get that, and I understand. You can also support the channel by just simply hitting the like button on this video, subscribing if you haven't already, and sharing the video if you think this was worth watching and this is decent information that you agree with and you think that people should know about that are in the hobby, that are getting into the hobby that you might know. So those are all ways you can support my work if you like it. I do appreciate you watching. Hopefully this kind of hit nail on the head and gives you younger guys some hope, because so far I've been bashing your fucking hope and dreams into the ground by telling you some harsh truths about the hobby. I hope I'm wrong about those. I don't think I'm wrong about this though, so this is a very positive thing. Anyway, you're partially correct. It might be the future. It's happening right now. Just don't expect to get a huge return on your investment anytime soon. Even when you go to sell it, a collector's going to be like, that's not an original configuration, so it's worth a little bit less. That's the worst part about this. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I will stop fucking rambling, and we'll see you on the next video.